welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to start another reading vlog. So this is basically the third, I think, reading vlog for Nonfiction November, and I just want to, continue on talking about the nonfiction books that I'm reading here in November. So I figured I'd better start another vlog. I just want to point out the lovely little bouquet here that my daughter put together for me for the holidays and how cute that is. So feeling very festive around here. So today is Sunday, November the 21st, and I am working on A Map is Only One Story, 20 Writers on Immigration, Family, and the Meaning of Home. And so this is a collection of nonfiction pieces that are all about what it says on the tin. And these were first published in Catapult magazine, and I've read already about 100 pages of this. It's about 200 pages long, so I'm hoping to actually finish this today. We'll see if I can do it or not. It is, so far, I would say that this is not the best collection of writing I've read on this topic, because these are, I enjoy essays that are more fact-based rather than personal essays, and these are more based on personal stories. And so what I do like about this collection is that it tells people's stories from all different walks of life, all different countries, all different geographic locations. So, we've got immigrant stories from all around the world, and not just U.S. immigration, but immigration between other countries, not U.S. centric. So there's a lot of different experiences in here, and I do value that, and I think it's really useful and important to read different stories from different places in the world. But I do find myself wanting more in-depth discussion of the issues in some of these essays rather than just a personal story. So, just good, but not great. Let's say that. So I will continue on with this today, and I will let you know how I get on. Good Monday morning. It is Monday, November 22nd, and I just wanted to report that I did finish A Map is Only One Story, which is an essay collection edited by Nicole, Chung, and Mensah, Demary yesterday. I finished this yesterday. So it's a short essay collection, only about 230 pages, all about immigration and personal experiences with immigration. Now, some of these stories are from folks who are immigrants themselves. Some are from first or second generation immigrant families. Not all of the essays are U.S. centric, which I found really, really excellent, because most of the stuff that I've read to this point on immigration has been very U.S. centric. So it was really great to get a more broader worldwide perspective on some of these issues. So when I spoke about this book yesterday, I was kind of, it's kind of an average read for me, but I have to say that as I read through the collection, it got better and better, so that this ended up being a very strong group of essays for me. I still do prefer more essays that delve more deeply into the contextual issues around the personal story. So I like a personal narrative that also has pieces of the history, the political situation, why, what the context is around why somebody is leaving their home country, or what the context is around somebody who has migrated somewhere else, and what those issues are in terms of becoming, either becoming a citizen of the new place that they've gone to, or why they can't become a citizen of that place. So I do prefer that in my nonfiction, but I think that some of these stories just had perspectives that I had not considered before. And so that made that, just even more impactful upon me. So yeah, in the end, I really did enjoy this, and I'm glad that I read it. So if you are interested in stories of migration and immigration from a broader cultural perspective, not just U.S. centric, I would recommend that you pick up A Map is Only One Story. So today is a work day, and I am, just getting my tea ready to start the day, and I don't really know what I'll be working on in terms of reading. I usually read during my lunch hour. I do have If Then still on the go, and I do want to pick up and start The Seed Keeper because it is the last week of the month, the last full week of the month, and that is our book naturalist pick for November. So hopefully I will get to that maybe today, maybe tomorrow, we shall see. So I will check in again later. Hey there, it's Wednesday morning, November the 24th, and I have finished another book. So I finished If Then by Jill Lepore yesterday, and I just wanted to come on here and talk to you guys about it because I think it was really an interesting book. I don't think that it is for everyone, and I don't think that it worked. It wasn't like 100% successful for me throughout the entire book. Sorry, I got a shadow there if I hold it on that side. So basically what this book is about is the beginnings of using computers to model human behavior in order to sort of determine actions, whether that be advertising, elections, or other things. So this book details the history of the time period in America between the 50s through like the mid 70s. So we're talking about the Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon presidencies. And so that also encompasses sort of civil rights era, the Vietnam War, and sort of the change over in American political structure, so that people started to become quite polarized politically, and the two parties became much more divided than they had been previous to that, where basically there was no overlap between a Democrat and a Republican. And they also sort of switched platforms in terms of how they viewed civil rights type social justice programs and projects. So the lens Jill Lepore uses to take a look at this time period is the creation of this company, this Simulmatics Corporation, in the 50s. This group of men who were, for the most part, behavioral scientists, psychologists, psychiatrists, those type of people, and also people who were at the beginning of computer technology and computer engineering. There was a group of men who they were mid-20th century liberals in the way that people were liberal at that time period, who thought that they could use the power of computing for the betterment of society, for the good, basically. They had good intentions, but what happened did not turn out to be maybe what they thought was going to happen. So they start out, this group of men, this Simulmatics Corporation starts out sort of providing information for election campaigns and advertising campaigns, and then move into modeling people's behavior for the prediction of race riots, and then into Vietnam, and basically propping up McNamara's idea that you could fight a war based on probability and computer simulations. So this book takes a lot of disparate things and sort of puts them through this one lens, and allows you to see how all of these things that were happening sort of interacted with each other. So at times the book felt a little disjointed. It was a little bit like, okay, why is she going down this sort of what seems like side alley to talk about this particular historical moment or whatever? But I think she does in the end bring it all together. And the interesting thing about it to me was how much of this history about this particular corporation and what these men were doing has sort of been lost, and that a lot of what we think that is new today about how computers aggregate data and allow companies to target us, particularly in our areas of interest, was all predicted back in the 50s and 60s by these people who were working on this at the beginning. And they've all been lost to history for the most part. And why and how that happened is really, really interesting. And so lest you believe that Facebook algorithms and Cambridge Analytica and how corporate America manipulates us is new. It is not new. It's been happening since the 50s and 60s, but we just understand it a lot better now, and we're more aware of it. And the other interesting thing about this book is it very much lays out the evidence that shows that the government of the United States had knowledge that that data could be used for these purposes and took a hard pass on any sort of regulation of that industry, and sort of left it up to private industry to come up with how it was going to work. They basically created the technology that was the basis for the internet and then was like, okay, it's up to you how you're going to do that. And there was a lot of sort of very optimistic ideas about how everything was going to be shared online, and it was going to be this utopia where everybody just shared all this information and everybody was going to use it for the good. Well, of course, that is not how human nature works, and stuff doesn't always get used for the good. And this book really lays that out there. So at times the book I thought could be confusing. There's a lot of names, there's a lot of people involved, and sometimes they all sort of blended together for me and I had a hard time distinguishing one from the other. That was one negative I saw to this. And like I said, sometimes it felt like she was trying to pull in too many different ideas into this one book. But overall, I think if you're interested in how we got to where we are in terms of big data and how data is used, our data is used against us to manipulate human behavior, I think that you would find this book really, really, really interesting, because I certainly did. And I think Jill Lepore is just a wonderful writer of nonfiction. She really has a way to keep the reader engaged in something that you might not think that you are interested in. Now, I have also started The Seed Keeper by Diane Wilson. This is the Book Naturalist Book Club pick for November. This is actually a novel. It's our first piece of fiction that we have chosen for the book club this year. And this is the story of Rosalie Ironwing and basically her life. And it's told through her story, but it is told from different time periods in her life. So you get part of her story from when she's a child, you get part of her story from when she's a teenager, and I'm about 100 pages into it, so I'm not exactly sure where the story's going, but I love it so far. It's told in a really engaging way, and the imagery of, I think this is in Minnesota. Now, of course, I can't remember for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's Minnesota. It's in a northern part of the United States. And Rosalie Ironwing is a Native American young woman, and she has experienced a lot of trauma in her life, and but she also has a very deep connection with the natural world that helps keep her grounded and helps keep her going. So yeah, really loving the nature writing in this book so far. Really loving the story and the way that it's told. Just flying through the pages when I picked this up. So we'll speak more on that later. And then I have returned to a nonfiction book that I started back in September. I read the first 3 chapters of this book, Mosquito, by Timothy Winegard, and just set it down for other things because it wasn't on my TBR for September, and so I put it aside to finish some other things and then never picked it back up again. But I did pick it up yesterday, and I am now on page 114. So, yeah, this is just super interesting. That is, the first chapter was really interesting about the biology of the mosquito, and how it has been so successful throughout history. It's been around for, millions of years, and biologically why it's so successful. And now we're into history, and Winegard is going through how the mosquito influenced certain events in history that we may not think, you know, that we may not think the Mosquito had any part of, like the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. That's the part that I just finished reading. And what actually stopped Genghis Khan's, you know, rampage through Western Europe, and things like that. Hannibal's march across Europe, and he didn't capture Rome. And why is that? And so, you know, I'm not sure that I agree with Winegard's premise that the Mosquito was all that influential in some of these events, but it's certainly quite interesting to read and to think about how communicable diseases have such a huge influence on history and how humans have developed over centuries. So yeah, enjoying that as well. So that's what I'm working on, those two books. I'm going to be continuing on with The Seed Keeper and The Mosquito for the rest of the week. These are going to be my two primary reads. Hello there. I just wanted to check in because I finished another book. So I finished The Seed Keeper by Diane Wilson, and this was excellent. This was a 5-star read, all about Rosalie Ironwing. It tells her story of being an Indigenous young woman who is, her parents die, and she is removed from her home and put into foster care with white people, and tells the story from there in a nonlinear sort of timeline where each chapter is, you know, from a different time period, telling her story from her childhood through her adulthood, what happens to her, and basically tells the story of what has happened to Native American people in the United States through this one woman's story. And interwoven with her personal family story and all of the trauma that goes along with that is the story of how seeds were kept by Native American women from generation to generation, and how the knowledge of how to use those seeds and care for those seeds and feed your family from those seeds was passed down generation to generation by the women. This is an excellent, excellent story, and really pulls together all of the issues that surround forcible removal of Native Americans from their land, and how that has broken their traditions through generations, and how that continues to impact people's lives today. It's a beautiful, beautiful story, and I don't want to get too much more into it in terms of an in-depth review right now, because I will be doing a standalone review for this for the Book Naturalist Book Club. So just suffice it to say, I love this book. It was 5-star for me. I just basically inhaled it over the course of 2 days. So yeah, excellent read. So I am going to end this vlog here, and I think I have enough that I've talked about for one vlog. I hope that you're all doing well and finding some great books to read, and I will talk to you later.